Hey everybody, I am David, and today I am going to be talking about Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. This is the second Power Ranger movie to hit theaters back in 1997. And as a Power Ranger fan, longtime fan, I've seen almost practically every season. Mighty Morphin to RPM, I watched religiously. That was from 1993 to 2009. I watched the show religiously. After that, I haven't let go of the show completely, but I have seen episodes here and there of some of the newer seasons, just to get an idea of what's been going on since I've been not as a regular fan as I used to. I still appreciate the show. I still love it. I still think it's cool that it's still on television, entertaining new generations of kids. I think that's awesome that kids are still getting to see their own take on the Rangers, even though it's more or less the same than it was back in the day. For me, I still enjoyed it. So when this Turbo movie came out, Turbo came out right after Zeo. And this movie was supposed to be a lead-in into the series Power Rangers Turbo. It was supposed to be the bridge between Power Rangers Zeo and Power Rangers Turbo. And as a fan, I gotta say, I think I can speak for a lot of fans because I've seen a lot of fans talk about this also. Turbo Power Rangers movie is a crap fest. It's a terrible movie that shouldn't have been in theaters. And it's an embarrassment to Power Ranger fans. And the reason for that is because it feels really cheap. It feels like it was just made to try to cash in on the show's success. But it's funny because at the time, the ratings were already in a steep decline. And Zeo's ratings just went down. And Turbo was no different. So why did they decide to make a movie based off Power Rangers Turbo? We have no idea. Now, for me, I don't think basing it off of a different season would have made any difference. Even if you got a really good season that fans really liked, like Power Rangers in Space or Lost Galaxy or Time Force or RPM, if you want to throw that one in there, I don't think it would have made any difference. The problem was that this movie stuck to the show, and you're alienating a lot of people who don't watch the show. For that matter, in this case, it would be adults. Let's face it, adults did not watch Power Rangers, so having an adult have to drag their kids, or their kids are dragging them to go see a Power Rangers movie, the adult is going to make the decision on what movie they're going to see, and they're going to probably choose something better that's playing in theaters. And this movie really felt like an hour and a half version of the TV show. They might as well have just put it, and not a very good episode at that, they might as well have just cut it into like 3 or 4 parts, because it did not work for a theatrical film. It felt very cheap. The score wasn't even as good as it was from the original film. The original film, the first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, actually had a pretty good score for what it was. It felt theatrical. This one didn't feel theatrical. It felt like a television show score, like someone was playing the music on a keyboard. At times, there were times where there was some interesting instrumental music going on in the background, but for the most part, it was pretty much the show on the big screen. Yes, okay, they brought back some Rangers it was really cool to see them again, such as Amy Jo Johnson returns as Kimberly. She was the original Pink Ranger, and Jason, who was the original Red Ranger in the TV show, and then became the Gold Ranger in Power Rangers Zeo. He returns in this one as well. Both of them are captured. They don't morph into Rangers. They're just there for, I guess, to get old-timer kids that left the show to go, hey kids, look, Jason and Kimberly are back. But the kids that left weren't into the show anymore. The kids like me, yeah, sure, of course we want to go see it for that. My parents were smart enough not to bring me to this movie. And I was already The movie came out when I was in my last year of elementary school. I think I was in grade 7. So, but I still didn't have a car yet. I wasn't at that age. I think you had to be 16 or 17 to get a car here in Canada. But yeah, so my parents didn't drive me to go see this movie. They took me to see another not so great movie later that year, Batman and Robin. So yeah, 1997 wasn't kind to superhero movies. Getting to see this movie finally on VHS, I don't know how it did in the. I know it didn't do so great in theaters. It made like $9 million, and it was a box office bomb. And that's why we haven't had a Power Ranger movie for a long time. And that was the mistake that it made by connecting this movie to the show. Unlike the original movie, which kind of stood on its own in some ways, it was loosely connected to the original one, but not really, because they remade the movie's storyline into a 4-part episode later on. This movie actually connects to the TV show, and that's why it alienated a lot of people. I will say Divatox was a really interesting villain. I liked her as a villain. I thought she was over the top, but I thought the actress did a really good job. Hilary Turner. I thought she was, or Hilary Shepard Turner, I think. I liked her better than the Divatox that replaced her on the TV show, even though she did come back later on. I didn't understand why at the time, and then I found out it was because she got pregnant. And so she did the movie, took her time off, and then came back for the show, as well as Power Rangers in Space, which was nice because I liked her more in the role than the actress that played her in the first half of Power Rangers Turbo. I will say that if you are a Power Ranger fan, you might want to check it out, especially if you're like binging all the Power Ranger TV shows. This is the lead-in into Power Rangers Turbo. It shows how the Rangers get their powers. Even though the first episode of Turbo kind of shows a little bit of a recap of what happened in the movie, they turned it into a music video using the Power Rangers Turbo theme song, the long version that's in the film. But if you're not a fan of the franchise, this is a movie you might really want to avoid. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but like I said, if you're a hardcore fan, then yeah, go check it out. You might have to suffer for an hour and a half of it. I do think the last maybe 30 minutes gets a little decent because there's some action, even though the action is horribly choreographed, because there's this part in the movie, it always catches my eye when the Rangers are fighting and there's like explosions and stuff, and Tommy's now the Red Ranger in this movie. He's like kicking some ass, and he does like a kick towards a character, and the stunt actor flips before the Tommy hits him. And I was like shocked. I'm like, come on, guys, you do a better job on the TV show than you are in this movie. What happened there? What, Tommy's foot was invisible and like the guy just fell? Oh my god. There's some things that are forgiving, and there's some things that are just like shaking your head, embarrassed. This is something that Power Ranger fans are embarrassed to talk about because it is a crappy movie. This should have been a direct-to-video and that was it, but they, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to put it in theaters. And I think it did do better in VHS, if I remember correctly. I think the VHS did do better than it did in theaters, and that's why the show stuck around, right? So, because kids do enjoy the Power Rangers. It's not adults, it's kids. So hopefully this new movie will change things a little bit, because it's time for Power Rangers to grow up a little bit, or at least one version should, to entertain the nostalgia fans that still hold the show dear to our hearts. So with that being said, guys, yeah, Power Rangers Turbo, I give it a 3 out of 10. It's not a good movie, but there are very few things for Power Ranger fans, if you're a hardcore fan, to enjoy. If you look at it as an episode of a pilot episode of Power Rangers Turbo, then maybe you'll like it a little bit more. But if you're looking at it as an actual theatrical film, it disappoints in quality in all areas. So with that being said, guys, I'm ending this here. Subscribe to my channel, especially if you are a huge Power Ranger fan or a fan of superhero films in general. I am a huge fan of all that. And like this video if you agree with me. Comment below and tell me your experiences of watching Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. Did you guys enjoy this movie when you were younger? Did you enjoy it when you were older? Did you enjoy it? Just let me know, and I always read the comments, so it's always cool when I get some. And until next time, guys, take care.